Westfield, Indiana.
And like I said, today we are talking about the 4 different ways that can work in improving your brain health. Now, why is brain health so important? Well, we have what's called mitochondria, and these are the powerhouse cells in our body. And when inflammation sets in these mitochondria, the mitochondria is dysfunctional. So this is, in terms of the inflammation causes a whole host of issues, such as mood disorders or depression, ADHD. You also have just a whole host of issues that go in inflammation. And this issue, the inflammation can be also caused by the food that we eat. So going right into it, number one way or thing that could affect the brain health is nutrition. So food is information. Now, what we put in our mouths will dictate our genome system. So what does that mean? That means that what we put in our bodies, the chemicals will react in our system and affect our gut. Now, I didn't put this in, but gut and brain are symbiotic. So what happens in the gut also signals the brain. And so it's the opposite as well. So what happens in your thinking can also affect your gut. And this is very important in the nutrition part. So what ends up happening is, again, what you eat, you are. So, for example, our factory farm, like animals, they are injected with antibiotics. Now, these antibiotics can break down the gut barrier lining. And that, in so to speak, will break up the barriers and all of these bad bacteria. So you want good bacteria and bad bacteria. All the bad bacteria can get in instead of being protected by the gut wall. And so these antibiotics and all of the sugars, the grains that we eat, the simple carbs, all of these break down that barrier, and that's what causes a leaky gut. Now, this leaky gut also formulates in the brain, and this signals Alzheimer's, this signals brain dysfunction. And so that's why I say you are what you eat. So if you give factory farm animals injected with antibiotics, also with, they feed on genetically modified corn and soy, this is really, where your gut lining is going to be impacted. So instead of factory farm animals, I say, go ahead and eat that grass-fed, meat. I'm not saying to go vegan. That's not definitely, what you want to do, but choose more or less the grass-fed, the pasture-raised. These animals live on, grass, and again, you are what you eat. So this is getting enough nutrients into your system. The other thing that you could also implement in your life is fat. Now, I know a lot of times people say fat is bad. Well, we're now hearing that good fat is good. And this is especially great for your brain. Fats such as coconut oil or MCT oil, if you want to put it in your coffee or on salad dressings, it's delicious. Also olive oil and omega-3 fatty acids such as salmon and mackerel, those fatty fishes. And also nuts. So nuts like walnuts, it looks like a brain. Well, that's the reason. It's great for your brain. So, have more fats in your system. The other thing that you want to implement as well is possibly intermittent fasting. So this is also called time-restricted fasting. That is actually a little bit, I want to say, more sustainable than intermittent fasting. But time-restricted fasting is just, end your meal at 6 p.m. at night or 7 p.m. at night, and then, 12 to 14 hours while you're sleeping. What ends up happening is it's clearing out. It's kind of like brushing out all that toxins from your day. And it's going into that morning until you have your break fast, so to speak. So that's in the nutrition part. So the second part of having a healthier brain is sleep. Now, sleep is so, so important. We're hearing endless amounts of information coming down from sleep. And so what sleep does, it improves memory. And when you don't get enough sleep, how do you feel? You feel like you can't think, you can't formulate, you can't problem solve, and you just get irritable and just all of that. So that affects the brain. And what ends up happening is, there's a part called beta amyloid that when you don't get enough sleep, it increases that. And patients with beta amyloid, this toxin, has an increase in Alzheimer's. So you want to get enough, I want to say good sleep. So we don't want to just say get 8 hours of sleep, because you can wake up every hour and still be dragging and not thinking clearly and on your way to this beta amyloid toxin. So how do we get sufficient good sleep? Well, one way is to have a sleep schedule. So that sleep schedule is same time every night, same time, get up same time every morning. And what that is like, obviously set your timer to go to sleep, 9, 10 o'clock, whatever it is. And then 8 hours later or 7 hours later, get up at that same time, even on the weekends. Because what ends up happening is your circadian rhythm, if it gets out of whack, you'll be lagging, you will be able to think clearly. But trust me, I tried that, and the next day I had such brain fog. So you want to have that sleep schedule. The second thing is you want to have like a nighttime routine. So what that looks like is 30 minutes before you go to sleep or go into bed, you want to kind of get ready for bed. So, brush your teeth, do whatever your nighttime ritual is, and you want to shut off all of your electronics, read a good book, kind of get your body and your mind in that sleep mode. The other thing that you want to do is when you get into bed, have it black. Pitch black, so no TV, again, no blue light, so no TV, and you want to have it black. Now, if you want to wear eye mask, you can go ahead and do that as well, because that will definitely help. The other thing that will help while you're in bed and sleeping is keeping it cool. So how does it feel when you're, during the summer and you're hot and you're sticky? Well, you're uncomfortable and your blood pressure rises. So that is why it's very important to keep it cool. Obviously warm blanket over you, but that helps rest, for your restful sleep. And so that's sleep. Now the third way that could really improve your brain health is stress, or it could also hurt it. If you have a huge amount of chronic stress, basically what that is shutting down your brain. It's really deteriorating your brain cells. And so when you are, stressed out, what ends up happening is you're in that fight or flight mode. And that fight or flight mode will, again, shut off that your amygdala, which is that part of your brain that is there for processing, for problem solving. It shuts it down. And so that's why you want to manage your stress. We're not always going to get rid of stress. So how do we manage stress? Well, one way is to, obviously breathe. We want to breathe. A lot of times when we're stressed out, we don't breathe. Or we breathe shallow. So how we want to do it is have that, breathing, that 4 seconds in and then 4 seconds out. So breathing definitely helps go back from sympathetic nervous system to parasympathetic nervous system, or that rest and digest. The other way is to take a walk. So if you're stressed out at work, or if you're just, having a bad day, going out in nature and taking a walk, I gotta tell you, even if it's for 10 minutes, that again switches that brain to, kind of a calm feeling. And another way, and the last way, is journaling. That also helps kind of release from whatever is going on in your mind. onto paper. So that release can definitely help you get over some of the stressful situations. So that is the 3 ways, the nutrition, the sleep, and the stress, that you could kind of implement in your days to get better brain health. I'm going to turn it over to Dan, who will be talking about now the exercise part of brain health.
Okay, thanks, Elizabeth. I think we all can appreciate the effects of exercise on our body, specifically our muscles, our heart and lungs. I think that's well appreciated, and obviously one of the many, many reasons we're encouraged to exercise. But what's lesser understood is actually the direct effects of on our brain, the improvement we can have on our brain with regular exercise. In regular exercise, anything from just simply walking to more rigorous exercise and onto strength training, it's all being appreciated on the impact of our brains. So when we think of the effects on our cardiovascular system, our increased, our improvement, I should say, of our lipid metabolism, glucose metabolism, all good things for our heart, those same things affect our brain. The blood vessels in our brain are affected by that. So being diabetic or having high blood sugars will negatively affect the cardiovascular system in your brain. So along the same lines, blood pressure. Obviously, we understand and appreciate the impacts of regular exercise on our blood pressure regulation. And to kind of go along with that too, our nervous system too, which kind of controls our blood pressure. All those things are positively impacted by exercise. And then again, we can see indirectly how our brain is improved from that fashion there. But what's lesser understood or appreciated, and this is something that actually fascinates me, is that the regular exercise actually has direct impact on our brain blood vessels, and our brain cells. And this is lesser appreciated, but this is the direct impact. When we do exercise, the exercising muscles specifically release different signaling molecules that go to the brain, travel to the brain, and signal the development of new blood vessels in the brain, which is, again, enhanced blood flows to the brain is very crucial. But also there are stem cells that are released that go to the brain that can actually help regenerate neurons in our brain. So that was thought that once you lost neurons, they're never regenerated, but the research is showing that actually the body has its own innate ability to regenerate neurons, which is kind of cool, kind of fascinating, but that is stimulated by cells and signaling molecules from our exercising muscles to directly impact our brain, to go to our brain and regenerate those neurons. So it is very fascinating that, again, we don't always have an appreciation that exercise positively affects our brain cells directly. We generally think of improving our cells, our memory, our cognition. We think of doing sort of mental exercises to prove that, but actually physical exercise has a profound effect on the brain. So that's kind of fascinating. And to me, that's just gives me another reason why exercising regularly, daily, or most days of the week is so important for our long-term health, especially brain health, versus just beyond weight loss or improving our body composition, but the actual enhancement of our brains.
Awesome. That's awesome. So those are the 4 ways, or the 4 pillars in your life that you can, again, take advantage of to improve your brain health. When we get older, our brains deteriorate. So how can we now, today, take advantage of and change our life for the better, for our brain health? So thank you so much, Dan. It was a pleasure to do this. And if you guys have any questions at all about either the nutrition, the sleep, the stress, and the exercise of how you can improve your brain health, please put them in the comments, and we will go ahead and listen or read them, and we will go ahead and do another video and answering those questions. So we'd love to hear from you, and thank you again.